On a cold February evening in 1987, the Moscow to Vladivostok train slowly made its way through the endless Siberian expanse. Snow outside the windows seemed infinite. A white blanket covering the earth all the way to the horizon. In the third car, by the window, sat a young woman named Anna Sokolova. She was only 23 years old. But in her eyes you could already read that special wisdom that comes to mothers. In her arms she held her little son Vanya, who had just turned 8 months old. Anna was traveling to join her husband, who was stationed in the Far East. The journey was long, almost a week on the rails, but she was filled with hope. Hope for a new life, for family happiness in that distant military town. Sitting beside her was an elderly man, Ivan Petrovich Volkov. He was already 72 years old. His entire life he had worked as a train engineer on the railroad, and now he was traveling to visit his only daughter in Khabarovsk. He had kind, tired eyes and weathered hands that spoke of decades of honest work. "Beautiful little one," Ivan Petrovich said quietly, smiling at baby Vanya. "What's his name?" "Ivan," Anna replied with pride. "After his grandfather." The old man nodded with understanding. "Good name, strong name." They talked quietly, about life, about family, about how quickly the world was changing. Ivan Petrovich shared stories about his work on the railroad, about how, in 40 years he had carried people across the entire country. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "the railroad, it's not just rails and trains. It's threads that connect people's hearts. Every journey carries 1,000 stories, 1,000 destinies." Anna listened, rocking sleeping Vanya in her arms. Outside the window, snow-covered villages passed by, small stations with yellow light glowing in their windows. Time moved slowly, peacefully. Passengers were settling down for the night. Anna was lulling her little son to sleep, humming an old lullaby that her mother once sang to her. "Sleep, my joy, sleep tight." The house lights have gone out. The birds have quieted in the garden. But around 3 in the morning, something went wrong. First came a strange smell, then light smoke. Anna woke first, her maternal instinct sensing danger before the others. "Ivan Petrovich," she called quietly but urgently. "Ivan Petrovich, wake up." The old man opened his eyes, immediately catching the scent of smoke. His experience, his many years working on the railroad instantly told him, "Fire." Quietly, he whispered, "Don't panic." "First we wake the others." But calmly, they quietly began rousing the other passengers. There were about 20 people in the car, mostly families with children, elderly folks. The smoke grew thicker. It became clear that the fire had started in the neighboring car and was spreading quickly. The train began to slow down, but the nearest station was still far away. Ivan Petrovich, drawing on all his experience, quickly assessed the situation. He knew they had only a few minutes before the fire reached their car. "Listen to me carefully," he told the people. "We need to evacuate through the windows. The snow is deep. It will cushion the fall." People began to panic. Children were crying. But Anna remained calm. She held little Vanya tightly, and looked at Ivan Petrovich. "What about the baby?" she asked. "How can I?" The old man looked at her with such kindness and understanding in his eyes. "Trust me, daughter," he said quietly. "I will stand below. You lower the baby to me first, then jump yourself." The smoke was getting thicker. Other passengers were already climbing through windows. The deep snow did indeed cushion falls, but it was still dangerous. Anna came to the window. With her baby in her arms, below in the snow, stood Ivan Petrovich, his arms stretched upward. "Don't be afraid," he called through the wind. "I won't let him fall." This was the hardest moment in Anna's life, to entrust her most precious thing to a man she had known for just one day. But something in his eyes, in his voice told her, this man could be trusted. This wasn't just kindness, this was something deeper. With tears in her eyes, she carefully lowered little Vanya down to the waiting hands of the old engineer. Ivan Petrovich caught the baby, as if he were catching the most precious treasure in the world. He pressed him to his chest, protecting him from the cold and wind. "Jump," He shouted, "I'll catch you too." Anna jumped. The old man, despite his age, caught her as well. They all fell into the soft snow together. Little Vanya was crying, but he was alive and unharmed. Anna hugged him close and looked at Ivan Petrovich. "How can I ever thank you?" she whispered through tears. The old man smiled and said simply, "You don't need to thank me. This is what people do. We help each other." All the passengers were saved. The fire was extinguished, but several cars burned completely. People spent that night at a small station, warming themselves by the stove and sharing food and warm clothes. Ivan Petrovich, all night long, held little Vanya so that Anna could rest. He told him fairy tales and sang old songs. In the morning, the rescue train arrived. People continued their journeys, but something had changed. They were no longer strangers. They had become a large family, united by one night, one test. Ivan Petrovich and Anna exchanged addresses. He promised to visit them when he returned from Khabarovsk. "You know," he said, as they parted, "I've worked on the railroad for 40 years. I thought I knew everything about people. But last night, I learned something new." "What's that?" "That kindness isn't just an action, it's trust. When you lowered your baby to me, you trusted me completely, and that trust made me stronger than I ever was." Years passed. Anna and her family settled well in the Far East. Little Vanya grew up to be a strong, kind boy. He often asked his mother about that night, about the old man who saved him. Ivan Petrovich kept his promise. He came to visit several times. He became like a grandfather to Vanya, the one the boy never had. When Vanya turned 18, Ivan Petrovich gave him his old railroad watch. "This watch," he said, "has been with me for 40 years. It has seen thousands of people, thousands of stories. Now it's your turn to carry it. Remember, time is precious, but trust between people is more precious than time." Many more years passed. Ivan Petrovich passed away at the age of 85. At his funeral, there were many people whose lives he had touched in one way or another. Vanya, now a grown man, spoke at the funeral. "Ivan Petrovich taught me that kindness isn't just helping someone. Kindness is believing in people, trusting them, even when it's frightening." That night, when my mother lowered me into his arms, she didn't just trust him with my life. She trusted him with love itself. Today, when I remember that story, I understand. It wasn't just about being saved from fire. It was about how people can trust each other, even in the most difficult moments. The watch that Ivan Petrovich gave me still runs, and every time I look at it, I remember we are all connected by invisible threads of kindness and trust. Sometimes one moment of trust can change everything. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is simply to be there when someone needs us. The train from that story stopped running long ago. The railroad has changed. The world has changed, but kindness remains the same. It still connects human hearts across distances and time. And somewhere deep in the heart of each of us, there runs that same train of kindness that never stops at final stations, but continues its journey from heart to heart, from one generation to the next. The end. This story is written in memory of ordinary people who, in difficult moments, become heroes not because they are special, but because they remain human.